Again, we're going to begin with a few questions from the media. Maria, your line is now live.
Hey, Kat, Maria Morales with Throwing Bows Podcast. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. So just a really quick question for you. You're ranked, you're coming into this fight heavily favored. Tell me why this isn't incredibly dangerous for you going up against an unranked fighter in this fight.
I mean, fights can go any way, any day. Obviously, no one comes here to lose. Everybody comes here to win, and I realize that, and I respect that. And so I train for this fight as if I have, God, so much. It's so much to lose. She's got so much to lose too. I mean, it's very tricky here in the MMA world, and really anything can happen. And so I'm taking her very seriously, and I trained extremely hard. Did all of my due diligence on any mistakes that I've made that could be looked up. On top of, got my coaches to get me ready for the expected, for the unexpected, anything of that nature. So, it's a crazy matchup. It's a good matchup. It's a dangerous matchup, and I'm game.
One last thing. Earlier this week in an exclusive with Low Kick MMA, you talked about possibly doing a cross promotion fight against Misha Tate that's now returning to the UFC. Are you doubling down on that after this win?
Who knows with these fights. I think right now I got to focus on this one, but when I see that kind of thing pop up, and when I hear about that division getting all mixed up again, like, of course I'm thinking about it. I have wins over all of those people. Misha Tate's about to fight Marion Renaud, and I have win over her too. So that's of course on my mind, and I see myself in all of that, and I'm very happy over here at Bellator. So it would obviously need to take some negotiating and conversations between people, but like I said, if they want to borrow me for a weekend, or if we can borrow them for a weekend, or however something like that would work out or need to be worked out, I think it would be great for the fans, and I think it would be great for all of us, because those are some great matches that have a history behind them and a lot of questions behind them too. So I think about it. I definitely have it on my mind.
Jay?
Thanks very much. And hey, Kat, welcome back. I want to build off that a little. I mean, it would be tough to see the UFC allowing something like that to happen. But one fighter who might be on the market is Megan Anderson. She appears to have parted ways with the promotion. If Bellator were to sign her up, is that a rematch you'd like to get back?
Of course, totally. I mean, she didn't touch a hair on my head, literally not one, just a toe in my eye. And they made a rule change after that, saying that is officially a poke, and I guess now there's a 5-minute time allotment, as the same thing as if you get a finger to the eye or something. So happy to be a part of history again in the sport, not necessarily in that disgusting way, but it's something that I want to fix. I do think that I was doing good in the beginning of that fight. I was feeling really good during that camp. It was my first fight up at 145, and got ready for it like a beast. And then, it was just this weird, unfortunate ending that just feels very incomplete. So yeah, I would totally like to see that. And her fight versus Amanda was a very interesting one too, because I beat Amanda and Amanda beat her with this crazy ease. And there may be some nerves in there for Megan, but I'm sure that she's hungry to, fix all of that herself. So if she comes over, I would definitely like to revisit that.
And one more for me. I mean, Leslie Smith was announced as the next contender for Cyborg's title. Were you a little surprised by that, given she's coming off one win, you're coming off one win, or do you feel that you maybe need another fight or two to really get in that conversation?
I mean, I'm okay with getting some more experience, especially because I had some time off before this last one, and I had a big surgery that I really needed to see who and what and how my body was after that. And I'm very pleased, with how I feel and how I'm doing. So, getting in and fighting for 15 minutes against the Gabinator was a very good experience and very good for me to do. And you know, that exact same night was the night that Leslie fought, and she had a good win that night as well. So I realized that it was going to be one of us. I actually kind of expected for the winner of that fight and the winner of my fight to go against each other. So I did kind of expect this fight this week to be Leslie, but you know, they obviously needed to pick somebody to move forward with Cyborg, and I think that a rematch for them makes sense. And you know, I'm happy to take what I can from whoever wins that fight. And you know, cool, that's down the road, but right now I'm still very, very focused on this fight, and I realize none of that can happen unless I show up and do my best on Friday night.
Damon?
Kat, coming in from the UFC to Bellator, we just saw the rankings get released recently, and it's kind of nice. They've actually filled up the featherweight division with a lot of talent. You mentioned Olivia's coming in new, but obviously she has past experience. Is there kind of an excitement with this division that you actually have a choice of opponents? Because unfortunately, we've seen with other organizations, where there's like 2 or 3 people on the entire roster. It looks like Bellator is truly committed to featherweight.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it's super exciting. I mean, we're the big mama jamos, we're the big girls, and like everyone's strong and everyone's tall and everyone's like beasting it over here. And it's a very deep division, and there's a ton of names and a lot of talent. And I just think it's great to be building it up. I think it's great to have so many options, so many looks, and just that, like, it's just heavy, and everyone offers a different threat. Everyone has something crazy to offer here. And there's still so much to be written. There's still so many who versus who going on, where when I left the UFC, it was kind of between, like, there was always like this 5 of us that they were always talking about, even in the 135 division. And they were borrowing 135ers to go to 145, which, I mean, obviously myself included, but I mean, I've always been a huge 135er. So to go up to 145, I still have a cut, but it is like a much healthier training camp for me. So, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see all these girls. Like, I have this like camaraderie that I can't really fully have because all of us want to beat each other up. So it's a very strange respect to have for everybody, but at the same time, like, I'm excited that we're all doing this together.
And I know rematches are always fun, especially when you get a chance to avenge a past loss, especially that weird situation with Megan Anderson, which, a lot of people don't really consider a loss, but you know what I mean. But I'm curious, I don't want to keep harping on the same subject, but I'm curious with the Miesha Tate thing, because you have a knockout win over her. What is it about that one that interests you? Is it just because the controversy, like she said, that she thought it was an early stoppage, or what was it that makes you want to revisit that?
I mean, we don't have the best blood between us. I mean, there's some history there that'll probably make us never want to go get beers. But we a couple years ago, let's see. A couple years ago, I got asked by ONE FC to do a super fight jiu-jitsu match against her. And either I was about to have my surgery or I had just had my surgery, so I wasn't able to do it. So I knew that she had been itching. Like, I knew that she was starting to get the I want to do this stuff again, itch. Like, it's a hard thing to stay out of. MMA, fighting, training, the camp, like all of it. It's like this pain game. Like, you love it, but you hate it, and you keep coming back for more. So, there's that. And then, she had also said before in some some interviews that I'm the only person she would come back from to fight in MMA as well. Cause she has that loss against me. And I know that there are some things that she had said as far as it being, I don't know, debatable, or she thought it was an early stoppage, or she thought something about a knee earlier in the fight that she was downed or illegal. But I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions for her for that fight, apparently. And, I felt great with how it went. I actually was proud of us because we put on a damn good fight, and we hit every type of martial art that can go into MMA. And, so to hear that she had any kind of bitterness about it was a bummer, but that, also means that she's a competitor, and she, would want to fix something like that. So, I'd give her that. And I would like to see what happens too. I mean, time is this wonderful thing between fights. And I've learned a ton. She's learned a ton. She's had breaks. I've had breaks, and how cool. Like, we were the first fight or the second fight in UFC history. We're the first women that got fight of the night ever. I was the first person first woman to TKO somebody. I was the first mom in the UFC. Like, there's so much history to that fight. There's Hall of Fame stuff in that fight. Like, how great to see it again and see what happens however many years later, you know.
We'll take a couple more here. Will?
Hey, Kat, thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
Will from the Fight Gods podcast. Looking back at your career, I see that there have been several times where you had kind of longer layoffs. It seemed like in 2018, you were back and you're going to be fighting a lot, but then we hit the pandemic. Is the weight cut not being as great helping you out, not sustaining so many injuries, training? And how many fights do you think we will see you in this year?
I mean, I would like to get 2 or 3 fights a year, but I mean, in my defense, like my road hasn't been an easy one as far as this MMA career. I mean, there was a year I fought 7 times in 5 tournaments, 5 jiu-jitsu tournaments. You know, there was years where I was able to do everything because I had the support. But please remember, in 2014, I had my knee exploded. You know, I lost my husband, and I'm raising a child on my own that's grieving. So I didn't really get to come back and do everything I wanted to, because it was more important to me to be there for my kid that needed me than to be there for fans that wanted to see me fight. So, you know, I had choices to make there. I never stopped training, but fight camp is a very selfish thing. Like, you have to be very involved in it, and it feels very terrible to be selfish as a parent. But, you know, I made it work when I could in the ways that I could. And, you know, I had an injury here or there. There was injuries that I even fought through that you guys will know about later, but I'll never tell you now. You know, and just life, you know, and I handled life, and I handled it on my own, and I handled it with the kid that needed me all of the time. And I don't regret a second of doing what was best for him.
All right, last one here. Dylan?
Hey there, Kat. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I was just wondering, because I was checking out an interview the other day you did with Mark Raymundi, and you were talking about how your son has reintegrated himself into training jiu-jitsu there. I'm kind of wondering, like, how does that inform your own individual journey as a martial artist, just because it's a generational thing now?
I mean, I love it. And I love that he loves it because of what it's offered me is so much, like it's this outlet with consequences, you know, and you get to sweat and you get to work hard and you get to meet so many people through it. And he moves just like me. Even at his age, he's a better athlete than I was. Like, it took me 10,000 times at a move that it takes him 10 to get it perfect, you know? And, he's very creative, and you know, we're super close. So be able to bond over this, and him ask me questions and me have the answers, like, feels so good. And on top of it, like, where we came from and the lineage of how we've gotten there, you know, it's quite a hard story. So for it to have this like positive outcome in this positive area where we get to feel good and connect over it and like remember things and like still use stuff that we got from before to use now, like it feels really special. And I'm super happy to have it with my son, and whatever he decides to do with it, you know, is up to him, and I'm going to support him no matter what. But it is very cool to bond with him. And I got my brown belt the other day, and I made sure that he was my first match. We had a match. As soon as it was tied around my waist, I went over and he put on his, and we had to go, just because I want that belt to begin with him, you know, just has all of this has started. So it's cool, and I'm really happy.
All right. Thanks a lot for the time today, Kat. Good luck on Friday.
Thank you.